is up, my Shadowverse soldiers, and welcome back to another Shadowverse Evolve video. Alright soldiers, so in this video we're going to be talking about the English conference that happened over like 2-3 days ago. Over the weekend I watched it, and I'm very excited to talk about all the things that we will be implementing next year for Shadowverse Evolve. Alright soldiers, so it's getting very close to that time. I know sets 12 and 13 are about to be right around the corner, and then we're going to be in Uma, and right after that we're going to be in set 14 and 15. So we're going to have these release tournaments for set 14 and 15 coming up. Alright, so I'm going to be honest with you soldiers, I'm not a huge locals goer. I did for other games for Shadowverse Evolve, you know, we're still kind of like the niche kid on the block. So, you know, these release tournaments are kind of like important just for new players to come in, really try out sets 14 and 15. My biggest wish, at least for these combined sets, since we, as of this recording, sets 12 and 13 aren't out. So hopefully the ratios are going to be like fixed. So I'm really hoping that the ratios are going to be fixed, and by sets 14 and 15, we'll know what really to expect from these combined sets. But getting back more into the locals or, you know, the game store type of things, if you're really into these Bushi Navi like little flares, and I think that's kind of like the biggest thing outside of being the champion and getting the champion card, if you're interested in this stuff, I highly suggest, you know, signing up for it, you know, get your flares, you know, buff up your profile to whatever you want it to be, because it's your profile. You only get the one, you know. All right, so getting back into the local game store things. So, all right, personally, I wish there was more incentive to playing these release tournaments and like having more of like a local game store incentive to come play and stuff like that. Because promo series 14 is most likely going to be the promo series cards for cards we already have access to. And coming from Dragon Ball, where the promos were cards that I needed for my deck that were pretty expensive, and their only way to get them was to play at my local game store or to buy them, that really had me, you know, playing at the local game store some more. So I think Shadowverse Evolve here kind of like missed on the fact that, hey, promo series 14 is probably going to be a combination of a whole bunch of cards from the set that we already have, outside of maybe the one exclusive card that everyone's going to be gunning for, since it's going to be an alt art promo. So I mean, I think that's just my little take on things, that there should be some more incentive to play at your local game store outside of being the champion, which, you know, we kind of know who the top players at our LGS are and who are likely to get the champion spot. So those players are definitely going to be gunning for first place to get this nice, beautiful card and their little flair for their profile. All right, but enough about the release tournaments. Let's talk about New World Genesis. All right, so say hello to fan favorites returning for set 16. So I'm going to call it now. I think set 16 is when everybody's just going to come back. Everybody took a break because nobody wants to play in the combined sets, and the fact that we only have like at least less than 30 days to really experiment what these cards are going to do for X set. I think set 16 is going to be the set that everybody will be coming back. Shadowverse Evolve will still hopefully be alive by then. I mean, they already projected that, you know, 616 is going to be out in March, and I think March is going to be a perfect time for all those players to come back and play Shadowverse Evolve. Alright, so along with set 16, on top of the fact that we are going to be getting those new allies, we're actually going to be getting a new Super Evolution point card. Alright, so if you have played Worlds Beyond, Super Evolution is going to work the same way. So your follower is going to get the plus in stats. You're going to have a Super on Evolve, or Super Evolve ability. It's kind of weird to say on Super Evolve. I think that's just how it's going to work. They're going to get that extra attack and defense +1, and even though your follower does not have on Super Evolve abilities, you can still Super Evolve them to get that increase to their attack and defense regardless. So I believe as set 16 is going to, you know, gradually get closer, we're going to see cards that have the Super Evolution type of triggers and stuff like that. So hopefully they won't be too busted or too broken. I don't think they will be, but I think this is going to be something interesting that's going to be coming to Shadowverse Evolve. Alright, and for our box topper head, so we are going to be getting 2 English exclusive card sleeves, both for Runecraft and Abysscraft. So if you're really huge on that, I hope you're looking forward to that. Alright, so let's talk about set 16 release tournaments. Alright, so looking at the pricing here for the release tournament. So I'm not going to lie to you. My take on this champion card is everybody should have access to this. We are going to be getting the new Super Evolution point, and I believe everybody should have access to the super pretty card. Only the one person gets the super pretty card, and that's nice. I feel like there should be like an uptake. Like the Super Evolution point on basic is fine. Everybody should have access to getting like at least a step up, and I believe this is like the step up prettier card. And I do believe there should be another tier on top of that for the champion. But of course, that's my take on it. I'm not super into the release tournaments, but at least since we're getting this new card, I believe everyone shouldn't just have the basic bland Super Evolution point, like that's boring. I do believe everyone should have access to at least a prettier card, since this is going to be the new thing for set 16. All right, so of course, I don't really want to move too fast or anything, but I think this is the biggest thing that's going to be happening in March. All right, soldier, so I'm not going to lie to you. These showdown decks are just already gas off rip, just looking at the top legendary card that we see. Now, I've already peeked at a little bit of the list, and I think these are the perfect catch-up decks, and or like whatever they did for reprints in terms of like what they wanted to do. I think this is perfect just so you can get a catch-up on everything and all the cards that you might need. All right, soldiers, I'm not going to go over every single card here. I might go over like, each individual card in like another video if you soldiers want that. But I think this is perfect for like, this is definitely like the catch-up set. So these are all old cards. None of them are really new except outside of maybe like the leader card that we might be rocking, but we already have access to the leaders in the app. But if you really wanted to play Earthright and you didn't have access to all the cards, this is the perfect deck to really invest in, just because you're going to be getting all the Earthright pieces that you need for the deck. All right, soldiers, so I don't know if you've been paying attention to a couple of my videos or if you caught me off playing on stream sometimes, or you just caught me in the Discord. I'm a big fairy token head, so this being a fairy token deck, I don't know what all the cards are going to be when set 16 comes out. Of course, we're going to be talking about the card list as the cards are getting ready to come out, so I will know of the cards. But as of right now, them revealing like the set 16 cards or any of the cards that are new for Fairy Token, then I'm very excited for it. So if you didn't already invest into Fairy Token spam or whatever you want to call the deck, then this will be the perfect deck to pick up for Forestcraft. All right, so to my Haven Crafters out here, you are actually winning pretty big on the Showdown decks as well, just because you already have your playset of Zelgania of the World if you don't already have it, and then you have the one Evo for the late game too as well. And then on top of that, you have Paradise Vanguard, which is another card that is just a staple in terms of like removing, can really throw it into any deck, and you do get a playset of both those cards. Not the Zelgania, the big world, because you only need the one just because it's going to cost a lot to play that. But if you're really interested in playing Amulet Haven, which is a pretty popular deck for a Haven craft, I suggest picking up this deck come March. All right, so I'm gonna be honest, soldiers. I think there's always a winner and always a loser. So I think if you are going to be interested in playing Dragoncraft here, at least on the catch-up things, I think you are going to be at least a little lackluster when it comes March for Dragoncraft. So, because most of these cards aren't really expensive or hard to really get to. I know some people have like a little bit of a harder market in, other countries and stuff like that. So it's already like a struggle for you to get cards. But I'm in the US, so I'm just speaking from the US type of thing. So if you are going to be interested in getting Dragoncraft, you are kind of going to be losing out on some value here because most of these cards are still a little bit accessible. If there is something that I did miss and I'm not really looking at every single card here, then please let me know, but I do think Dragoncraft is the loser out of all the crafts here. Alright, so if you were interested in playing Wasteland Sword come March, I'm not sure if this deck is still going to be relevant, but I do say that most of these cards in here are perfect cards to pick up. So these pickup cards are going to be pretty nice. Like as soon as I saw the trailer, or at least the reveals for the conference, as soon as I saw 3 of Leodes, that was just absolutely amazing because this card hasn't been reprinted. This card is still pretty expensive. Now on the downside, they are only giving us the 1 Evo, but still having the 3 Leodes is just good in itself, just because this card having Intimidate and Aura, just as it's, reserved, is just pretty good on a card. Now on the Evolve side, having Mold, you probably need maybe 2 at max, but still having 1 is better than having 0. All right, so Abysscraft's turn. All right, so I think this is pretty worth for Abysscraft just because you get the playset of Icy. If you don't already have Icy, then you get your playset, and then you get the Magic Train too, which is just a staple in Abysscraft decks as of right now. Cannot speak for set 16 because we're not there, but Icy is still a good staple 5-cost card that gets 2 cards back from Cemetery, while you get a Magic Train that has some hard removal attached to it while healing you. It's just good value that can be splashed into any Abysscraft deck. But in terms of picking up this deck in March, straight out of the box, you're going to be looking more towards Wasteland, and that's what we are in set 11. So, of course, being 5 sets back from what we're going to be in March, I think this might still be a playable deck, hopefully. But I think the Icy with the Magic Train is still going to be a combo played in set 16. Alright, so if you were going to be getting this entire kit buying it straight out of the box, then you will be getting a rubber playmat with 12 booster packs and then 7 promo cards as well. So I think how it's going to work, if your shop is going to have a whole bunch of these, which I think this is the perfect time to invest if you were taking that break. I know a lot of soldiers, took a break for Shadowverse Evolve saying, hey, there's no point playing the accelerated schedule if by next month you're going to be on a different set. I understand that 100%. But come March, I think it's going to slow down a little bit. Everybody's going to come back to Shadowverse Evolve. We'll have more intake of players, and I think these decks are the perfect thing for players to catch up on, so we don't have to miss out on those old, printed cards that came out like a billion sets ago. All right, so they talked about the deck demo sessions here. All right, so the deck demo sessions here. So I got into Shadowverse during a deck demo session. It was pretty fun. That was like over 2 years ago, and I know at the last Bushi Road Fest, there wasn't anything super big at the Bushi Road Fest for Shadowverse Evolve, just because Vanguard was kind of like the thing. That's just what I heard. It's just rumors, of course. Now, if anybody has any concrete information, throw it down in the comments below or message me in the Discord, either or. But I do believe that having the demo sessions is very important for Shadowverse Evolve, just because every time I mention Shadowverse to anybody, they're like, what is Shadowverse? Then I have to go through the 9 yards of explaining what Shadowverse is, what Shadowverse Evolve is, what I talk about in Shadowverse Evolve, and stuff like that. So I think these things are very important. And all right, soldiers, come April, we will have our second set of Idolmaster Cinderella Girls, or at least the EX crossover set. I'm just assuming, we're just going to get a second run of it. So we're going to have those new expensive cards. So if you're looking forward to getting any new arts or any new special kind of arts for it, this is the set to really invest in, because Uma is still very expensive. And if they get more signatures for this, then, this set is going to be expensive too. So I highly suggest, if you're really wanting to get some value out of Shadowverse Evolve, look into getting these cards. All right, and we also have set 17, I believe this is set 17, coming on the rise on May 22nd. So be on the lookout for that. And it looks like we actually have Portalcraft here. So hopefully we'll get another leader with the super evolution points that we will be implementing in March. So hopefully we'll be around that area where Portalcraft will be a thing. It's going to be kind of weird since we have a lot of cards from Portalcraft and Runecraft, but let's see what they're going to be doing come May. Honestly, what I'm really excited for here is that we're going to be getting those new cards, those exclusive new leader cards, so I'm going to be looking for the Isabel for my deck. Alright, so I wanted to sprinkle in some Grand Showdown information, so everyone who's going to be participating in Grand Showdown already probably knows where it is. But if you do watch these videos and you are interested in what's going to be going down for Grand Showdown, in Europe it's going to be happening in December 6th, while in North America / Latin America, it'll be happening in December 13th, with Asia and Oceania being the next day on December 14th. All right, and while we're on the competitive side of things, I do want to show all the soldiers what the participation for the World's Finalists is going to be for Shadowverse Evolve. I'm actually very excited, just because this event has to be streamed. Has to be streamed. Like, if it's not, then I'm going to be very disappointed, but I'm pretty sure it has to be streamed. And anybody that is going to be participating is just going to be making fat value off of this. Like, for just going, you get a rubber playmat, you get a storage box, you get a deck holder, you get card sleeves, and then you get the promo card. And then, of course, if you get into Top Cut, if you get in top 8, you get an extra one, and if you get in top 4, you get the playset. All right, and soldiers, our world champion prize card. So if you have what it takes to be the #1 Shadowverser, or if you're ready to Shadowverse Showdown and be the best out of the rest, then you're able to get this prize card. I'm hoping it's going to be Runecraft. Runecraft has been dominating. I'm very happy. It's been since quite some time since Rune had its time to shine. So the fact that Rune is dominating the sets right now, if you feel like it's stale, I don't care, because it's very nice, because Rune was just not even a deck come like set 5. But yeah, of course, like I said, if you were worthy of world champion and you beat the rest and you can take the test, then you will get this prize card, and I hope you will be able to flash it in front of everybody once you win. All right, soldiers, so let's close it out with the Lunar New Year Shop Tournament, which is going to be the low-level tournaments for us that, potentially might not even be going to Worlds. And all right, soldiers, for those of you who are going to be participating in these shop tournaments, you will be getting the Dutiful Steed token. So it's going to be around set 11. So hopefully, you're able to pick up one just for being able to play these Wasteland decks. And then if you are the champion of said event, you will be getting an extra one. So if you want to trade somebody else for that third one that isn't really playing Wasteland, you get your little full play sets of Dutiful Steeds. I personally wish that they had every sort of token, like, hey, participation, you can get either Dutiful Steed, the Bullet Bike, or the Personal Carrier, or any of the other things like that. And then if you're a champion for whatever perspective deck, then you can have that sort of like SL, like token card for that. But I think having everyone, everyone's using Quixotic Adventurer, that's the 1 cost gold. So Dutiful Steed token is just going to be just fine here. But all right, soldiers, that was everything that they really kind of covered in the English conference. I'm very excited about these showdown decks. I think that's the most important thing that I'm ready for. For those value seekers, I know Idolmaster is going to go absolutely insane. the Shadowverse, or excuse me, the Super, I want to call it the Shadowverse Evolve point, but the Super Evolution point is going to be very key once we get into that set come set 16. I'm very interested in how they're going to implement that into Shadowverse Evolve. Very excited for all this stuff. Now, we still need to play it a little low to the ground because we still have set 12 and 13 at the end of the month, and I know I'm kind of a little lackluster in terms of making sure everybody knows what these cards are, but best believe I'm going to be on it this week after we get this dragon deck talked about. But alright, soldiers, make sure you're safe in whatever you do tonight and safe whatever you do for the rest of the year. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.
Yeah. TRINN. Just to get you away. What I got to do, what I got to do.